Everything begins at the coronation of the new emperor, the exact moment when Heinrich meets the man who will complicate his life. In this era, religion rules everything, and Satanism wields such influence that the Pope becomes more powerful than the throne itself. Although Emperor Heinrich Carlos II should be the center of attention, all eyes are drawn to Otto Amparst, a young pope with the look of an angel, pure vibes, suspiciously so. The rumors say he didn't get there through virtue, but by seducing archbishops and using dirty secrets to climb the ranks. Heinrich realizes the country is a disaster and that this pope is a real threat. He understands that to win, he must know his enemy well, so he swallows his pride and approaches with a fake smile to begin playing his cards. Heinrich continues playing the humble emperor and starts drinking with the father, who boldly tells him his only mission now is to fill himself with children to bless the crown. To Heinrich, this is the height of hypocrisy. A man known as a stud, talking about giving love, fills him with disgust he barely manages to hide. Walking through the gardens, the kid confirms the palace is a complete disaster, because here's several nobles having a wild time among the bushes, using religion as an excuse for their dirty deeds. He's so outraged, he's already planning a thorough personnel purge, but his thoughts halt when he spots the Pope alone, disheveled and completely drunk beside a fountain. It's a pitiful sight that confirms religious men can't even control their impulses or alcohol, just as the Pope tries to stand up and nearly crashes into the ground. Heinrich must set aside his hatred to catch him before he breaks his face, reminding himself that he was the one who served him the drinks, leading to this state of ruin. The Pope is so out of it that he loses all filters and starts touching Heinrich's face with a confidence that borders on seduction. The emperor, far from being uncomfortable, realizes this is his rival's moment of greatest vulnerability and decides to seize the opportunity. With a smile of victory, Heinrich returns the touch con una sonrisa de victoria. Heinrich le devuelve el contacto and directly invites him to the greenhouse under the pretext of a physical exchange to supposedly strengthen their alliance. But here's where the plot completely falls apart, with a twist no one saw coming. The Pope is pregnant. In this world, there is a legend about a lineage of men who can give birth, and Otto has just confirmed he's one of these extremely rare cases. The guy is in total crisis, thinking he's going to die from his condition, while recalling with hatred how his brother, the Duke of Saxony, pulled him from his peaceful life years ago and dragged him into this mess of power and appearances. Otto lived in his own world among books until his brother Takmar appeared, exploding in fury, going so far as to eat the pages of his reading to force him to socialize. While the poor man only dreamed of being a low-profile priest to live a quiet life, his brother came up with the idea of using him as a chess piece to infiltrate the church. If you thought Otto chose his position, you're very mistaken. On the day of the election, he wakes up to the news that he is the new pope without having asked for it. It was a complete ambush where Takmar admits he used his family's fortune to buy the position so he could have a puppet controlling the emperor from the Vatican. Otto ended up trapped in a position he hates, feeling his brother is a monster for stealing his peace in such a way. With such a shady origin, it's no wonder the nobility now spreads rumors about his supposed parties and romances, painting him as a partygoer and leaving him in a very bad light in everyone's eyes. The truth is, Otto is extremely innocent and has never been with anyone, so the rumors about his wild parties are really getting to him because they're pure fiction. He's tired of his real life being completely different from the image of a party animal the nobility created to tarnish him. In the midst of this crisis, Heinrich appears and Otto is left dazzled, staring at him like a true leader, kind and completely self-assured. He feels terrible because he thinks he's a fraud compared to someone so genuine, unaware that the emperor has been manipulating him from the very first moment. though his brother Takmar constantly yells at him to use his power to crush Heinrich. Otto has not an ounce of malice and only dreams of being left in peace. Back in the greenhouse, the Pope is so dizzy from alcohol that he loses his balance, but Heinrich catches him with such certainty that it leaves Otto speechless. Overwhelmed by the scent and closeness, Otto begins to melt. He comes to the conclusion that the man is simply too attractive to be real. Tension rises to a new level when Heinrich takes hold of his hands and he gives him a kiss that is anything but innocent. Even Otto, with his limited knowledge of life, perfectly understands that this is a clear signal that the Emperor wants to move to the next stage. Otto shuts down his mind and lets himself be carried away, confirming that Heinrich's seduction worked even better than expected. The situation escalates so much that the Pope loses control of his senses and fully surrenders to the moment. Just at the most critical point, Otto snaps back, cuts everything short and runs off, claiming he must return to his brother. Heinrich is left alone and utterly bewildered. He's not used to being left behind in the middle of such tension. The next day, guilt destroys him as he tries to process that he had such a powerful encounter with the Emperor in a public place. He feels like the worst religious leader in history for giving in so easily to temptation just because he was slightly drunk. The memory of what happened has him so distracted that he even feels physical effort in his back, disconnecting him from his duties. So lost in thought is he that a simple call from his assistant nearly makes him jump out of his chair in shock. Heinrich appears out of nowhere with a giant bouquet of roses to break the tension. It's a strategic move. He uses his charm and an expensive gift to keep Otto from dwelling on his guilt. The problem is that the flowers are from the greenhouse and the message is crystal clear. Otto nearly short-circuits when he realizes Heinrich is using the place of his sin as a constant reminder of what happened. Without the slightest shame, the Emperor confirms that last night wasn't a drunken mistake, and that he wants to repeat it. The guy knows he's a smooth operator, has plenty of charm, and uses that confidence to corner the Pope. The Pope can barely hold his gaze, overwhelmed by the intensity. Heinrich tries to take him to the palace right then and there, celebrating internally, feeling he already has him in his pocket. But Otto puts a stop to it, and though he promises to visit soon, he gives no definite date, trying to regain a bit of control amid the chaos. Heinrich finishes closing the deal and gets Otto to agree to meet in 2 days, confirming his suspicion that the Pope can be manipulated far more easily than he seems. 3 days later, Otto falls into the trap and arrives at the palace carrying books for a supposed theology class, giving Heinrich the perfect excuse to have him alone. While the Pope explains theories about twins and fertility, Heinrich doesn't register it. He's completely gone, staring at him with a tension immediately noticeable when Otto realizes the Emperor has even his clothes buttoned wrong. Otto tries to straighten up so they won't be caught by the courtiers, but the warning comes too late, as the atmosphere has already turned heavy. The lesson ends exactly as Heinrich intended, and we see a completely broken Otto, holding onto his crucifix in an attempt not to lose his mind. He feels defeated because, despite his position, he realizes he is unable to tell the Emperor no in the face of his provocations. Otto begins idealizing Heinrich because, to his surprise, the man turns out to be cultured and incredibly polite. He convinces himself this is his first love simply because it's the first time in his life someone has treated him with even a little decency. Heinrich takes advantage of having him in his pocket and proposes they go to the papal palace to see forbidden books, just to spend more time together. Otto agrees instantly, completely blinded by the attention and romantic vibe the Emperor is selling him. But his body starts to pay the price, and now he's living with nausea, vomiting, and exhaustion so severe he can't even sit still. He thinks it's just from the physical strain of their constant encounters, unaware that the symptoms of pregnancy are already a threat. He won't be able to hide much longer. Desperate to understand what's happening, he rushes to the Archbishop Gregory to drop the bomb about his relationship with the Emperor. The poor old man suffers a mental short circuit from the news and faints from sheer shock before he can utter a single word. Gregory recovers from the shock, but panics completely upon realizing this isn't a joke. He knows perfectly well that if Otto's brother finds out about this mess, he'll destroy him without a second's hesitation. The old man has no choice but to accept the miracle. Otto is pregnant, and to make matters worse, the child is the Emperor's. Since it's his first relationship, the poor guy is utterly lost, and he has no idea how to handle such a bomb. The situation is a political disaster because their families hate each other, so Otto decides the best thing is to hide the pregnancy. He fears that Heinrich, instead of seeing a son, will see enemy blood and discard him purely out of calculation. But watch out, because Takmar has already noticed that his brother looks haggard and is acting very strangely. Since he's busy chasing heretics, he sends a trusted man to keep a close watch and uncover what the Pope is truly hiding. Heinrich wakes up in a terrible mood, but he quickly gets up because he has a scheduled visit to the Vatican to continue pulling strings with the Pope. Meanwhile, in the cathedral, Otto is intercepted by Roy Swabia, a baron who has known him since childhood and who has the free pass to speak to him with a confidence that others can't even imagine. Roy grows nostalgic, remembering when Otto was a crybaby. But the poor Pope can barely keep up, feeling as though the secret of the pregnancy is a giant stone, crushing his head. The situation grows even more awkward when the Baron mentions that even Takmar's heavy burden is worried, forcing Otto to pretend he's still that honest boy he's always been, while inside, he's dying of guilt over his mess with the Emperor. The atmosphere snaps to a halt when Heinrich enters the room. The Emperor sees the Baron as a complete nuisance, and it's obvious from a mile away that he has no desire at all to share Otto's attention with anyone. Roy isn't just some ordinary guy. He's a millionaire baron, known as a playboy. He spends his days partying from one event to the next. Heinrich nearly explodes when he hears Roy calling him Otto for having grown up together and plunges into a spiral of jealousy, thinking this man might have been the first man in Otto's life to keep from falling behind. The Emperor marks his territory by boasting that the Pope visits him alone for theology lessons, confirming the rumors Roy feared so much. The situation escalates so much that Otto's body can no longer endure it and collapses to the floor, forcing Heinrich to set aside his pride to call for a doctor. Everything ends with Otto unconscious and Heinrich completely shaken, realizing something very serious is happening to his private companion. Heinrich demands a logical explanation for the fainting, but the doctor stops him with a doubt that foreshadows disaster. In the end, it's not stress. The man confirms that the Pope is pregnant, and Heinrich freezes, realizing with horror that the situation has completely slipped out of his hands. What a bomb the doctor dropped at the end! If the heir has already started growing inside Otto's belly, make this channel grow just as fast by smashing that subscribe button. Comment which other manhwa you want me to tell you about in the next video. See you!